Well, hello story chasers. I'm going to show you today the good, the bad, and the ugly of how van life has changed me. Hi, my name is Amber, and I've been living in this van behind me for a little over 3 years now. I've also been RVing for over 4 years. I started out in a Class C RV, downsized to this puppy behind me after the first year, and she's been really good to me. Living in a van, it's not always easy, but it is very, very rewarding. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 9 things that have changed me since I've started van life or RVing, and how I think these tips can also help you as well. All right, let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk to you about how van life has changed me is noise pollution. This is a big one for me. So I grew up in the city. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and then I moved away to the Seattle, Washington area in my late 20s. And I've always lived in larger cities, so I'm used to noise. So when I purchased my house, I actually purchased it outside of Seattle, about an hour north of there. And I wanted a little bit quieter place. I liked that more rural kind of lifestyle. And that was probably the start of getting rid of the noise pollution for me. But then when I started RVing and staying out in beautiful places like where I'm at now, which is in upstate New York in a state park, or out on BLM land or National Forest land, which is all free, mostly out on the West Coast, I started noticing that when I would come back into cities, I would feel a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of overwhelm from all of the noise in the city. So with all of these years of living outside of the city and more rural areas where sometimes there's just nobody around at all, I'm definitely feeling overwhelmed by city life. Now, it doesn't happen all the time. It mostly happens when there's just a ton of noise, a lot of people around. And I feel like it's probably gotten a little bit worse even with the pandemic, because we're all supposed to be doing, 6 feet apart, social distancing for a while. And so it got worse at that point. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I feel like I'm just more sensitive to it now. Not that I hate cities. I'm not bashing cities or anything like that, but I just prefer being out in the boondocks, basically, where there's less people, it's quieter, it's more simple, and less noise pollution. So number 2 goes along with the first one of noise pollution, but that is living a more simple life and being more slow. So living the slower paced life. I've definitely adopted that. It has taken me a long time to get here though, because I was so used to the rat race, to working so many hours every single week. If you haven't seen my video that came out recently, click right over here, but it talks about why I decided to go into this lifestyle and make such a drastic change from quitting my job and also leaving everything behind, selling my house, selling everything I own, to adopt a very, very different lifestyle that's different for most people. Living the slower paced life, I love it, and being out in nature and really connecting with nature. But then when I go back into cities, I'm getting that overwhelm a little bit sometimes. The third thing that has changed me, the freedom of time. So I feel like I have more time to do the things that I really love. And part of that love is to create things. I really miss that. I used to paint a lot when I was younger, and I kind of got out of it. I think probably when I joined corporate America, because I haven't painted in a long time, and I still haven't been painting. I'd really like to take that up again, but something that I did pick up, which I have no experience in whatsoever, is leather working. And so I'm still trying to learn that process of leather working right now, but it's so fun. It's tangible. I get to cut things, I get to poke holes in things, I get to sew, and I get to create something out of nothing, and it gives me a lot of joy. So I'm very thankful and very grateful that I have additional time on my hands to just spread my stuff out on a picnic table or my kitchen counter and really create something that's beautiful. Sometimes my leatherworking doesn't come out so beautiful. I'm still learning, but it's beautiful nonetheless to just be able to create. Well, before we continue, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. As I mentioned to you before, I'm taking up a new hobby, which is leather crafting, and I knew nothing about it at all, which is why I turned to Skillshare to learn a little bit more about how leather crafting works. I took this one class in leather crafting that really helped me. I seriously love this class that I took from Robin Fitzsimmons about the basics of leather crafting and how to make your own wallet. One of the unique things about her class is that you instantly start creating her step-by-step instructions combined with video for an entire project that's from beginning to the end, help me to visually see where I can make improvements. Maybe leather crafting isn't your thing, and that's okay, but I betcha Skillshare has something that you would love to learn. Skillshare has many incredible classes from videography, photography, and creative writing, just to name a few. And because Skillshare is sponsoring this video today, they're giving the first 1,000 subscribers who click the link below a free premium member access to Skillshare. And after that, it is super cheap with unlimited access and ads free. So make sure you click that link below to get signed up now. The fourth thing that changed me about going into van life is understanding the resources that I use. So what do I mean by that? When you're in a house, you don't have to worry about where your water comes from, how much electricity you're using, who's going to pick up your trash, because you have all of those services already dialed in for you. When you're in a van, you have to figure that out. You have to, one, think about where are you going to dump your tank at? Where are you going to get water from? I have solar, or you could have a generator possibly. So that's what generates the electricity to your RV. So I have to think about my consumption of all of those things in order to make them last a little bit longer in between the times that I need to refill, if you will. If I think about my consumption of all of those items, I can stay off grid a little bit longer, and I actually minimize the amount of resources that I'm using. Our water is really precious and landfills are overflowing. So in this life, I have to really think about what I'm using because I have such a small space, and if I want to stay off grid a little bit longer. So you can't bring in a ton of items. For example, let's talk about groceries. When you bring groceries into your van, you have to think about all the waste that comes with that, all that packaging. What are you going to do with it? Because a lot of times you'll go get groceries, put it in your van, and then go to your site, and then you have to figure out what to do with all of this trash. So I try to buy products that don't have a lot of packaging. If I can't do that for some reason, I'll unload all of my groceries into my refrigerator and pantry inside of the van, and I repackage it. So like, for instance, a box of mushrooms, if I can't buy them in bulk, it usually comes in a box. Well, that box is kind of bulky. I'll repackage that inside of like a small little reusable silicone bag and stick that in the refrigerator. I do that with lettuce. I do that with spinach. It comes in that big plastic bulky container. Well, that creates a lot of trash in the van and a lot of space, and I don't want to have to go into town to dump all of that trash. So I repackage it before I leave the grocery, and then find a trash can there and then dump all of that garbage inside of the trash can. You also have to think about your water consumption. How many times do you wash every single day? When I was in the Sticks and Bricks house, I would take a shower every single day, sometimes twice a day. But in this lifestyle, I take a shower maybe once a week under a shower head, but I clean in the sink of my RV. So I'll wash my hair, do a sponge bath, wipes or whatever to stay clean. So I am clean, I'm just not under a shower head. But even then, I really think about the water that I'm using if I don't have direct access to water like I do here in the state campground. The other thing is power consumption. I have 250 watts of solar on my van. I have 400 amp hours of lithium battery, but my solar panels are not bringing in enough for me. So I actually extend it by using this Jackery over here. I have a couple of them and they have solar panels as well. That helps me at night, so I don't actually use the house batteries of the RV. I use the Jackery instead, and that way I'm not using up all of my house batteries and then they shut off at night, because that has happened, especially when it's winter time, not summertime, and you don't have full sun overhead and I'm not getting a lot of power coming into the van. So you really think about your consumption of electricity as well, and you start to get really creative about how you use it and then what types of equipment you have in order to have as much energy or electricity coming in as possible. If you're in a campground, you typically have full hookups. So you'll have hookups to electricity, you'll have hookups to water and sewer, and that will allow you just to have everything free flowing and you don't have to worry about it as much. But if you decide to do a lot of off-grid living like I do, you really have to think about those things. The fifth thing that has changed me about van life is becoming more resourceful and also feeling a little bit more empowerment. This lifestyle is very different than a sticks and bricks lifestyle. And so I had to learn a lot on how to live off grid, on how to find places to stay overnight, on all of the things that I just talked about as far as resources, how to obtain them without always being in campgrounds. And I think also creating those moments in my life, which is why I started story chasing and why I call this channel story chasing, is because I want to live my life without regret. So I'm always constantly seeking, what are those things that are going to make me feel good, make me feel happy? Where can I explore? What can I do? How can I create more moments that I'm going to remember for a lifetime? And so all of that has really empowered me and fueled me. And also starting this business, this YouTube business, that has really empowered me as well, because it shows me the resilience that I have to start my own business and make it successful. And I'm happy to say it's doing really, really well. And a lot of that is because of you guys, of course, because I wouldn't have all of this without you guys and you guys being interested in what I have to offer, and the travel vlogs, the entertainment of it all, and also the things that really help you guys who are looking to move into this lifestyle as well. Through it, I've been able to create a course called the Nomad Mentorship Bootcamp course that's linked down below if you're interested in that, but it teaches people how to move from a traditional lifestyle into a nomadic lifestyle. And so that has empowered me as well to see how I've been able to inspire and motivate people, and most of it's just been through my own experience and what I've learned along the way, and then all of my corporate life experience with budgeting and finance and accounting, and it just feels really, really good. So that's another thing that has changed me with van life. The sixth thing, which touches on what we just talked about, was being location independent, because I have a job that allows me to do that, and also a van that allows me to do that. I love that I can travel anywhere that I want for the most part, as long as I can at some point in time get a cell connection and therefore an internet connection, because my entire job, my entire business is online. And so I love that I've been able to create that location independence and really do what I want, explore, and have more freedom. And if you've been on my channel long enough, you know that I have two favorite words, and that is create and freedom, and I get to do both of those in van life, and so it really fuels me and I love it. Number 7 is loving this more minimalist lifestyle and creating things rather than accumulating things. I hope that as you're watching this, if that's something that you're interested in, that you can figure out what that is for you too, that really lights you up and excites you and allows you to accomplish your dreams and maybe live a life a little bit differently than what you're used to. The life that I was in before was the American dream, and this is my American dream 2.0. I've recreated the philosophy of what that is to me. And that American dream 2.0 is a life of freedom, a life of location independence. It's a life of exploration and creativity and living a little bit more of a minimalist lifestyle. And this allows me to do all of that. Number 8 is I've been able to realize my dream of full-time travel. And in the process, I've been able to inspire and motivate other people and help them achieve their dreams as well. And it is such a fulfilling job for me. I absolutely love it. It has its moments, of course, when things aren't always great, and that's when I go back to my why of why I'm doing this. But for the most part, it is pretty darn amazing, and the fact that I get to help other people change their lives really makes me happy. So number 9 is this amazing supportive community of nomads. It is not something that I realized would happen when I started down this journey. I thought that it could be a very lonely life, but I came to realize very quickly that it is not. You meet so many people along the way and you get to know them, you get to know their stories and why they chose a similar life. You have this bond between you because both of you are out here living this nomadic life. You have this common denominator that you can talk about. So it's very interesting to me to hear everybody's stories, and it's very interesting to me that I feel like this nomadic life actually has more community than when I was in a sticks and bricks home. It was a huge surprise for me, but I love it. It's one of those things where no matter where you go, you meet your neighbors. You know, I have 2 RVs on the other side of me here, and I met them. They're from the New York area. And I loved hearing, you know, why they're out here, what they're doing. Some people are full-time, some people are part-time. I meet families on the road. I met a family, the Jeepsies, who live in a Jeep full-time with their little boy. And I loved hearing their story about how they've been able to travel the world with their child and be able to share the history of this world rather than just sitting in a classroom. I've met a lot of families like that where their kids are just so different than what you might see if they were in a typical school classroom setting or sticks and bricks lifestyle. They're learning the world firsthand. And I feel like for me, even though I've been out of school for a very long time now, I've been able to kind of do the same. I've been able to go to historical places and different areas around between Alaska, Canada, the United States, and Mexico, and really get a feel for what our history was and what it is now, and remembering those things that you learned in school. So the exploration part of van life has been absolutely amazing as well. If you have any questions or comments about this, please leave me a comment below and let me know. If you're looking to go into this lifestyle and you have questions, leave those comments below as well. I'd love to hear from you guys. I have a couple of links down below to a free budgeting course that tells you the costs of this lifestyle, and also a link to the Nomad Mentorship Bootcamp if you want to click into that and look to see what that's all about as well and get signed up. I hope this has inspired and motivated you if you're thinking about van life or RVing. And if it did, please give me a thumbs up on that. Hit that like button. It helps me to understand if you guys are really liking this content, if I need to make some changes, or if I just need to scrap it all together. I don't know. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye.